Looking at the market, we're getting an excellent push towards that upside. But if we go over to cheddar flow, you're looking at the options chain. It's a 2.6 ratio for put to calls. So every single call that is out there, there is 2.5 basically on the opposite side on the put flow going on QQQ, which is relatively all tech. We're going to talk about all this here in the video. Let's get right to it. Now, when we get into this, what I want to talk about is what I mentioned yesterday here on the channel. I'm always trying to keep it very simple for you, the viewer, to understand. I'm trying not to explain this to you like rocket science, because chances are you don't look at stocks all day long. That's what I do. That's why you come to the channel. So when you're here, you're range bound between roughly 13,000 and lows of 12.8. Now, what did we say about 12.8 yesterday? Right down here, as Jay Ream from Discord mentioned, the partner in crime. If you don't know who he is, his channel link will be down below. So right here, he mentioned that this was the April lows and you were never losing them. It was a very good point. And once you touched these lows, guess what happened? You started making higher lows and higher lows. So going into yesterday, what did I say? I said, if you come into today at market open and you are above 13,000, go watch the video, go look what I said, go watch those key areas. I said you are bullish. You have to be bullish on the market if you're above this range. If you get below this range down here, you're very bearish. And between this range, what did I say? I said you are range bound. You're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down like you have been. And people were asking, well, what do you mean by that? Tyler, can you clarify? Well, I can, because we can go back to this was yesterday. We can look up, down, just back and forth, back and forth. You were range trading. You were trying to make your mind where you get the volume towards the upside, or we're going to push back down towards the downside. That was the major question here. Now, as we go over to the SPY, we're going to get a few more answers. Now, before we get to those answers, I need to ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. Every single day, I'm giving you the videos that you need, the videos that you want, and going over stocks that are going to be some of the best movers and exactly what I am trading on the market. I'm showing you exactly how I'm trading, so hopefully you can profit as well. This is not financial advice, but make sure you do your own DD. Now, again, as we get in here, SPY was really simple as well, except SPY was definitely lagging on the day. So what I'm going to do here is actually get rid of this indicator so you can see a little bit more clearly. So when we go to SPY over the past few days, it's been a lot more apparent about you range trading. So you go up from about 408 up to 413, back down, back up, back down, back up, back down, and then today you broke above. Now, what did I say here on SPY? I said you get above this range, roughly 413, you mount above it, look, you break, you mount, boom. Easy as that. What happens? You're bullish. NQ did it first, so you had your entry signal there. I'm going to go into some of the trades that I took today, but ultimately that was your signal. You're pushing there. Now you're getting a little bit of a rejection from this range, which if we come back out to around the 4 hour, you're going to see we're coming up into that resistance. The top of this resistance, though, 416 to 417. You get above 417 into the 418 range, and guess what happens? You are most likely pushing to 428. So if you can get above this 417 range here, you will start pushing. Very volatile, very quick, and very strong towards the upside. But we need to talk about specifically what's happening right now and how I'm looking at the market. Now, personally, in Discord on the trading day, what exactly was I doing? I want to be very transparent. I mentioned my loser yesterday, and I want to mention what I was looking at today. So starting off the day, I went immediately long on Microsoft about 20 minutes into the market open at $1.80. I ended up closing all of my positions almost at around 290. These contracts ended up running all the way past 350, over 100% gains on this one. The next trade was Netflix, got in around 135, ended up cutting half at 165. And no, actually, I'm sorry, I did not. I cut half when they got up to around 170, I believe, and I let the rest run at stop. I break even. Sorry, 180. I can't even remember this trade. And then Meta, these got up to around $2 a contract. I ended up cutting near close. I just didn't get them off in time and lost about, I think it was like a break-even trade. 166 exit, the entry was 165.7 or 165 flat. So going today, very good day. But what I want to highlight by saying all that, am I trying to show off the gains? Is that what I'm trying to do? No, because if I wanted to, I would just show you how much traders in the Discord made. But I'm not going to do that. The point is of telling you is that where was this money made? Now, again, I follow heavily the NQ and Nasdaq, because that's going to show me, and that's a lot of the stocks that I'm trading, considering that the S&P 500 was very green on the day. But going over to NQ, I just had better overall signals because you immediately were above 13,000 at open and we never looked back. You can also see, if we go back to the 5-minute, look at your 9 EMA. You really never got below it all day long, which shows us our trend is extremely bullish until the end of the day, of course. Going over to SPY, what about this? You never really get back below the 9 EMA all day until the end of the day. So the bullish trend today was clear. But what am I trying to say here is trade the breakout, people. Trade when you're getting above those key areas. Because I was not trading underneath this 13,000 level on NQ. I traded on the break. That is where I made my money. That is how I was trading, right? I found a strong stock. I found a play that I liked, and I traded the trend all the way up. Now, going into today, things are going to be a little bit different going into tomorrow. What am I looking for? There's a few levels I will be watching. I'm very curious to see how this level right here, around 13.2 to 13.68 will do. Previous highs, you can clearly see it touched, came down, came back, trended, popped back up. So you can see this level is going to be a support here as well. So I'm very curious how this will hold. And then of course, if you get a 13,000 test, how will that hold as well? These are all areas I will be watching. And obviously those previous highs about this range right here, 13.1 to 13.08, very big levels all here. So now you have key supports being made here on NQ. So you get the key break up. We haven't hit our target yet, but now you have a support here and you have a support here. Those are definitely going to be opportunities in my opinion. Where is the overall target that I have mentioned? We're going to go to the 4-hour chart really quick. We'll get into some stocks that I'm liking as well here in a second. Looking at this chart, the clear target, in my opinion, 13.5 to 13.6. I've said this on a repeat. Every time you break above 13 in the past, guess what happens? You bounce all the way back to 13.6, 13.5. That's my target. I still think we have room to go, and it still looks really strong. The only case where I start flipping the narrative of possibly getting back to a bearish trend is if we start breaking back down into this range. So if we break back below 13,000 on NQ, then I start to say, maybe I need to be considering some downside. We're back in the range. It's possible we're looking bearish. Now, looking overall at index as a whole, I still think you look strong. At the end of the day, yes, you had a little bit of a sell-off. You're seeing some bad earnings come in right now. But if we look at earnings as a whole, it's very important to know. All this is in Discord as well if you're on Discord. But you can see from this, looking at earnings, this is today. You have Marathon Oil, Energy, Lucid, Robinhood already reported. Not too big. Tomorrow you have BABA before open. That will be interesting, but I don't think China affects us too much. Datadog most likely is going to be a beat looking at them. But then going into after close, you have some bigger ones, Warner Brothers, Square, Twilio. Honestly, can never pronounce these guys, so keep them on your radar. But they're going to be pretty decent as well. And Cloudflare, because these will all come back into CRM, CrowdStrike, and tell you how these are going to move. So that's why I'm watching those. These tech names all will overall affect each other, and they'll kind of depict how the market moves as a whole. I don't see it being major, but I do see it definitely affecting the market. That's why yesterday I said if PayPal and AMD can beat, if they are strong, the market will continue moving. Today's earnings a lot less influential, just the sad truth. It is what it is. AMD, they did beat, they did change overall outlooks, but you can see they're still moving very good. Look at NVDA. They've been killing it all day long. So overall, I love the sector. And you're seeing a lot of strength across the board. Now, again, I just don't see any of that movement coming from these earnings. I see tomorrow being a bigger day as a whole. Now, stocks that I'm liking, stocks that I'm playing, stocks that I'm looking for. This is what you want. But give me 1 second because we need to go over some key things really quick. We need to go over key indicators, whether it be junk bonds and the DXY. Junk bonds, you saw a very good bounce back on the day. What do junk bonds show us? They show us that there is a risk sentiment on the market. When investors want to see more risk, they want to start putting more money on tech, junk bonds go up. Guess what happened today? Junk bonds were going up. That's what you started to see. You started to break out of this consolidation and you broke back towards the upside. Going into DXY, we saw a lot of upward momentum at the beginning of the day and then downside stepping back in. Going into DXY as well on the 4-hour chart. Look at where you're at. You can't make this up. You bounce at our support levels down here, and now you're pushing back up. The question is will you break out of this downtrend and start breaking back up? And if DXY starts moving back towards the upside, I think you'll have to start looking for possible rejections on a broad market because once again, this will lead right back into yields as well. We saw the 10-year yield try to bounce today. The one thing I will say was looking interesting was the 10-year yield versus the 30-year yield. you did start to see that climb a little bit here on the charts. You saw we got as low as 88% on the inversion. We climbed back to 92%, almost 93% on the inversion, and almost a day and a half of trading here. I do like that. I'm very interested in this, and this is definitely showing, in my opinion, this inflation situation is not over, and there's still a lot of problems going on here. So looking at these things, I still believe longer term, downside is still upon us. Shorter term, I'm still targeting 13.5 on NQ. Stocks that I'm liking. One, I got to go over Tesla. Everyone's the most popular trade probably here. Now going into this, what was I saying specifically on Tesla? What was the one thing you needed to pay attention to? Going into the 5-hour chart, the only area that's very necessary for you to watch, especially when it comes to entry opportunities, I keep telling y'all, every time it comes down to this key level, the 905 to 902 range, that is your buying opportunity. 1, 2. That was your buying opportunity. You came back, you bounced 902, 903, you go all the way back up to 916. That's a great trade. You buy at the end of the day yesterday, 903, 902, you open up today, boom, 927. You get the retest down here, 903, you bounce all the way back to 928 before you start seeing downside once again. I'm just saying these are your indicators you got to be watching. Topside test here is going to be 940 to 945. Shallow J Ream once again, killing it with some of these targets as well. Microsoft, I do still like Microsoft. Let me point out what I like so much about this. Now we have key levels marked out here, but what I want to show you is the level and the trend that you were in. So going into this trade on the day, something we had been watching was the bull flag you were forming here, right? You got the breakout overnight, you came back, you retested that monthly. This is where we entered right here, and we never looked back, continually making money throughout the whole day. Easy trade. That monthly was a key indicator. You broke up, retest, boom, easy peasy. Now look in here, you're bull flagging, and guess where now you were testing? You're now trying to see if you're going to hold previous highs as a support. If Microsoft can hold this level right here, in my opinion, you are looking for more upside. Now, if you zoom out just a little bit, looking at Microsoft, I'm going to tell you right now, my target has got to be upwards and 292, roughly on the low end of 288. That's the low end of 288. I think you get to 290 pretty easy. But going back here to the 5-minute chart, I believe you are trying to cook this up to get a big push back to 288. So definitely keep Microsoft on your radar. What are you looking for? If you can hold this range into market open tomorrow and indexes remain strong, you're looking bullish. If you get below this, I'd be looking for a test back down to 277. My personal opinion, what I'd be looking for, you just want to see if you're going to hold this key range around 281. That's the big level right there. Now, also going into this, you have some earnings from EV vehicles. You have Lucid earnings, things like that. I'm not too interested in any of those earnings. We had a few people play the puts on those. Very interesting play nonetheless. Now, I'm still interested in Netflix. I had a few runners left on this. Now, looking at Netflix, I got August 19th positions for 250, and they ended up running like 30%. So the options move very good. Just so you know, Netflix options move great. So I'm looking at this right here. You have an ascending triangle going on right now, going to the 4-hour chart. I'm looking for at least a test of the 245 to 250 range up here. Now, it's worth mentioning, if you get that 13.5 push on NQ, you're easily going to push to 245, 250 in my opinion. That's just for starters. Now, if you get above this range, the question is do shorts start to cover that are on Netflix? And if that starts to happen, you're going to see massive volume. You have a giant gap all the way roughly to 330, almost 340, 350. So you got to be watching out for that as well. Netflix is one of those monster plays that I will be looking out for. So I do love Netflix. Last but not least is going to be Shopify. And if you are not in the Facebook group, I recommend getting in there. So earlier I mentioned 2 charts. I mentioned Netflix. Some people in Discord made some money on this one already. I cut half of those when we got up 30%, basically to cover my risk on the trade. And then looking at Shopify, I mentioned this when you were at 40.10 in the Facebook group. Facebook group link is down below. That is absolutely free if you're not ready to make that next step into Discord. I recommend just getting in the Facebook group so you're just communicating with like-minded people, and I'm also posting updates here and there. Now, from that range, someone I think said they took that trade. I wasn't even posting a trade. It was just a beautiful chart. And they're already up 30% on these positions as well. So you broke above and you're pushing to 42 as we speak. You're finding a little bit of a resistance, but you have a gap all the way to $44. Shopify's on the way and you're breaking out of this key level, which you traded in for 3.5 months. You'll love to see it. Great opportunity. So going to the market, I just love the overall aspect of what's happening. But if there's anything you can learn from this channel specifically, it's when you're trading, you want to trade the breakouts, people. Trade the breakouts. So when you're in this range like this, you need to understand how you're trading. So when you're in this range, you're scalping up and down, up and down, up and down. You're not expecting to get the 100% plays. You're not expecting to get 50% plays. You're taking the 10 to 20%ers in this range. When you get the breakout, this is when you're going to make your 100%ers, your 50%ers, things like that. Why? Because you're absolutely just getting massive volume to some of these other stocks. Maybe massive volume isn't coming into the index, and we've already gone over. You don't need volume to move up on an index. You just need more buyers than there is sellers. And no one talks about that, but it's true. But you're seeing volume flow into Netflix. You're seeing volume flow into Apple. You're seeing volume flow into other stocks as well. So just pay attention and wait for those key breakouts, because that's when the money opportunities are there. Now, if we go really quickly before I let you out of here, looking at Bookmap, I want to cover specifically some stuff that happened here. Now, looking at Bookmap basically since the beginning of the day, look at how you moved on ES. ES went straight up. Now, something I mentioned to Discord to where I started grabbing more and more calls. You were seeing red CVD. So CVD is cumulative volume delta. And when it's red, it basically indicates that there's more sellers than there's buyers. And when it's green, obviously you're getting into more bullish territory. Now, what I like to see on these days is the straight uptrend. And that's what you love. That's your money-making opportunities here. The Bookmap link to this too is down below if you're interested in using these guys. It's basically a heat map on the indexes and the stock market. Now, you weren't seeing any hidden orders from the dark flow when it comes to the blue line. But look, you get back into green finally, you remount, you test the lows, and then you start pushing back up. From that point on, buyers dominated the market. You can say volume was piss poor, whatever you want to say. I don't care what you're commenting down below. But volume indicates buyers dominated. You continue to make higher highs basically until the end of the day. And it indicates why we were making money towards the upside. There was never a doubt as far as were we going to pull back, because continually you were making higher levels and you were never breaking towards the downside. So we love that as well. So that was very indicative that we were going to see some upside into the day, which was another indicator of why I was buying and so bullish today, specifically in Discord. Now, I want to highly, before I let you out of here, we have not hit 13.5, so I still believe there's more upside. So I would not be going short yet. That's just me personally. But I do believe a shorting opportunity is coming, and it's getting here closer and closer each day. I do believe there's a lot of negative aspects on the market, and I'm turning more and more bearish each day. But nonetheless, the charts are pointing us towards the upside, and we want to see that 13.5 test. Why? Because it lines perfectly up with our previous rejection level right here, 13.5. That's our technical level. And until we get some bearish fundamental news, I see us going there. We haven't had any bearish news across the market, so nothing tells us to be bearish right now. I'm going with the trend. I am not fading the trend, because that's how you lose money in this market. You trade the trend, and you want to thrive when you get the breakouts, and that's what we're doing right now. We are thriving with these breakouts. I'll see you tomorrow, traders.